Let's start now. The predator of time. Time is the only resource we can't recover. It is the ultimate predator, silent and relentless, consuming everything in its path. 50 years ago, humanity did something that defied the very laws of our biological limits. We left the cradle, we walked on the moon, looked back at the Earth, that fragile blue marble hanging in the infinite cold void, and then, for reasons history still debates, we stopped. We allowed a half-century of inertia to settle over our greatest ambition, letting the fire of discovery fade into a quiet, distant ember. For 5 decades, the moon has been more than a celestial body. It has been a ghost, a silent, orbiting witness to our retreat, watching as our reach shortened while our world grew smaller. We spent half a century looking down at our screens while a world of infinite mystery hung above our heads, waiting in the dark. But tonight the clock starts again. Artemis II isn't just a mission. It's not a simple flight test or a fleeting visit. It's a reckoning with the time we lost. It's a bridge built over a 50-year gap of absolute silence, spanning the generational void between who we were and who we must become. We are no longer the same species that landed in the Sea of Tranquility. We are faster, more connected, yet perhaps more fragile than we have ever been. As the Orion capsule ignites its engines, it isn't just carrying 4 astronauts. It's carrying the collective weight of 2 generations who grew up wondering if we'd ever go back, or if our footprints had been erased by the passage of years. The mission is the answer to a question we've been too afraid to ask. Did we lose our nerve? Or were we just waiting for the right moment to face the ghost in the machine? We are reclaiming the minutes, hours, and years that slipped away while the lunar dust settled over our abandoned footprints. The wait is over, and the predator of time has finally been outrun. The loneliness of the abyss. Imagine a distance so vast that Earth, the only place where every human who ever lived was born, fought, and died, becomes a marble you can hide behind your thumb. Now imagine that marble disappears entirely from view. This is the staggering psychological reality of the Artemis II crew. As they travel toward the moon, they aren't just leaving a planet, they are leaving the very concept of home and the safety of the collective human experience. When the spacecraft swings toward the far side, the astronauts enter a shadow that hasn't seen a human face since 1972. In that haunting moment, the umbilical cord is cut. There is no radio, no Houston, no prayers that can reach you. There is only the hum of the Orion capsule and the crushing realization that if something goes wrong, even a single bolt shearing or a single software glitch in the millions of lines of code, you are the furthest humans have ever been from a rescue. On Earth, help is a phone call away. In low Earth orbit, help is a few hours away. But on the far side of the moon, you are in a different dimension of absolute isolation. The psychology of this distance is something no simulator can truly replicate. It is a weight that presses against the soul. You are suspended in a vacuum that is actively and patiently trying to kill you, protected only by a few fragile inches of aluminum and carbon fiber. Every breath you take is recycled. Every drop of water you drink has been through your body before. You are a closed system in an infinite open void. It's a profound, terrifying freedom. You realize that the universe doesn't care about your mission parameters. It doesn't care about your years of training or the medals on your chest. It only cares about the cold, unyielding physics of the moment. And in that moment, you are the most isolated conscious minds in the known universe, drifting through a sea of black where the stars don't twinkle. They stare with an indifferent, ancient light, the glass graveyard. We often think of the moon as a peaceful place, a soft, glowing lantern in the night sky that guides us home. But the moon isn't soft. It's a graveyard of shattered stars. Because there is no wind to erode, no water to smooth, and no atmosphere to protect, the lunar surface is covered in a substance that is more hostile than any desert on Earth. Regolith. Lunar dust isn't like the dust under your bed. It's volcanic glass. Billions of years of micrometeorite impacts have ground the surface into microscopic blades that have never been blunted by the elements. Each grain is jagged, angular, and razor-sharp. And because of the constant bombardment of solar radiation, these particles are electrostatically charged. They don't just sit there, they hunt. They stick to everything, defying the simple laws of gravity. They bypass the seals of your suit and migrate into the most delicate electronics. They eat through the hardened bearings of your equipment like a slow, metallic cancer. During the Apollo missions, the astronauts described the smell when they brought the dust back into the lunar module. It smelled like spent gunpowder, the scent of a war that ended eons ago, fought by gravity and stone. But the smell was a warning of a deeper toxicity. The dust is a physical invader. It irritates the eyes, it scars the throat, and it lingers in the air as an invisible threat. For the Artemis crew, managing this invisible enemy is a matter of life and death. One microscopic breach in the airlock, and the very ground you came to study becomes a slow-acting poison in your lungs, shredding tissue at a cellular level. You are walking on a surface that is fundamentally incompatible with biological life. The moon doesn't want you there. It resists your presence with every grain of its shattered skin. It is a world that has never known the softness of biology, only the raw violence of the cosmos, where every step you take is a jarring intrusion into a 4-billion-year-old silence, the radio choir. In 1969, during the Apollo 10 mission, astronauts Eugene Cernan and John Young heard something that continues to haunt the archives of NASA. As they moved over the far side, completely blocked from Earth's radio signals, they began to hear a sound in their headsets that defied explanation. It wasn't just static, it was a whistling, a rhythmic, haunting melody that seemed to have a life of its own. They called it space music, a term that barely masked the unease it created. Logic, the last comfort of the scientist, says it was merely radio interference between the lunar module and the command module. But in the absolute vacuum of space, where sound should not exist, that logic feels dangerously thin and fragile. When you are alone in the dark, stripped of every terrestrial anchor, the mind doesn't seek logical explanations. It seeks patterns in the chaos. The Artemis crew is listening for it again. They are wearing state-of-the-art headsets, shielded by the most advanced technology 2026 has to offer, yet they are still listening. They aren't listening because they want to hear it. They are listening because they are afraid of what it means if they don't, and terrified of what it means if they hear something entirely new. The far side of the moon is the quietest place in our solar system, shielded by 1,000 miles of rock from the cacophony of Earth's radio waves. It is the only place where we can truly hear the unfiltered pulse of the stars. But when you turn the volume up on the universe, you might not like what you hear echoing back. You might realize that the ghost in the machine isn't a simple glitch in the radio. It's a reflection of a profound mystery that space refuses to give up. It is the sound of the void looking back at you, a symphony of dead stars and cosmic radiation that resonates in the very bones of the ship. It is a chilling reminder that in the deep, the silence is never truly empty, but filled with the ghosts of 1 billion years of stellar evolution, singing a song that was never meant for human ears. The architecture of silence. Christopher Nolan once said that the loudest sound is silence. On Earth, we don't truly know what silence is. Even in our quietest moments, we have the rustle of leaves, the hum of electricity, or the distant, reassuring sound of traffic that reminds us we are part of something larger. But on the moon, the silence is absolute and unforgiving. It's a vacuum. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the absence of the very medium required for sound to exist. This silence doesn't just surround you, it presses against the mind like a physical, crushing weight. Inside the Orion capsule, the crew hears the constant fans, the rhythmic pumps, and the artificial heartbeat of the machine. But they are acutely aware that just inches away on the other side of the hull, there is a silence that has lasted undisturbed for 4 billion years. This creates a psychological pressure that goes far beyond the overview effect. You realize that your entire life, everyone you ever loved, every war ever fought, every sunset you ever watched, is contained on a tiny blue dot that you might not even be able to see right now. You are a biological anomaly, a flickering spark of life in a vast kingdom of dead rocks. The question isn't, can we survive the moon technically? The question is, can the human mind survive the sheer scale of it? Can we handle the profound realization of our own absolute insignificance in the cosmic order? When you look out the window and see nothing but the infinite black, the silence starts to speak in a language of its own. It tells you that the universe is vast and you are impossibly small. It tells you that you are a ghost in a very large, very cold, and very indifferent machine. And for 10 days, or perhaps a lifetime, you have to find a way to live with that echoing truth. You are an intruder in a realm of perfect stillness, a flickering candle trying to stay lit in a cathedral of eternal night. The silence is not a void, it is an active presence, an ancient, motionless observer that watches as you breathe your recycled air and dream of a world that is hundreds of thousands of miles away. The Gravitational Labyrinth. Navigation in space isn't like driving on a highway. It's like sailing on a dark, turbulent sea, where the floor is constantly changing shape beneath you. The moon's gravity is a lie. It isn't the uniform, predictable pull we've been taught to expect. Beneath the desolate surface lie maskins, mass concentrations of incredibly dense material, possibly the ancient iron cores of massive asteroids buried deep within the lunar mantle. These mascons act like invisible hands, tugging and clawing at the spacecraft as it orbits. They create a gravitational labyrinth that defies the standard laws of orbital mechanics. If you don't account for them with absolute precision, your orbit won't just shift, it will slowly and inevitably decay. The moon is literally trying to pull you down into its cold, gray embrace. Early lunar satellites crashed into the dust because scientists didn't yet realize that the moon was lumpy. For the Artemis II crew, this means they are walking a cosmic tightrope over an unforgiving void. One wrong calculation, one undetected anomaly in the lunar crust, and the moon's gravity wins. You aren't just flying a ship. You're playing a game of high-stakes chess with an invisible force that has no mercy and no room for error. It's a quiet, chilling reminder that in space, even the most fundamental forces, the things we take for granted on Earth, like gravity behaving consistently, can become dangerously unpredictable. You are moving through a landscape of hidden traps where the very ground beneath you is reaching out to grab you, silent and unseen. Every dip and surge in the gravitational field is a ghost of a collision that happened billions of years ago, a physical memory written into the very fabric of the moon's mass. You are navigating through history itself, steered by the remnants of a violent past that refuses to be ignored. In this labyrinth, the shortest path is never a straight line, and the only way out is to master the invisible currents that flow eternally through the stone. The permanent shadows. The target for the Artemis program isn't the flat, dusty plains of the Apollo missions. It's the South Pole, a place of eternal light and permanent shadow. It is a landscape of impossible, jarring extremes. In the sunlit peaks, the unfiltered radiation can practically boil your blood. Just a few feet away, in the jagged shadow of a crater, it is colder than the frozen surface of Pluto. These cold traps are the primary reason we are going. They hold water ice, the true gold of the solar system. Water for air, water for fuel, water for life itself. But to get it, we have eventually to enter the total darkness. The shadows at the lunar pole are unlike any we experience on Earth. Because there is no atmosphere to scatter light or soften the edges of the night, the shadows are a terrifying, absolute pitch black. You can stand in the blinding sun and look into a crater, and it's not just dark. It's a hole in reality. For the crew of Artemis II, observing this jagged terrain from orbit is a haunting glimpse into the future of our species. You see a world that is frozen in time, holding secrets that have been hidden since the dawn of the solar system. It's a chilling reminder that we are intruders here. We are trying to harvest the resources of a world that has been at a perfect, lethal equilibrium for billions of years. We are the ghost in the machine, trying to find a way to make the machine work for us. These shadows are the ultimate mystery, a place where time has literally stood still, preserving the ancient, icy breath of comets and the primary matter of the solar nebula. We are going into the dark to find our light, searching for the spark of life in a place that has only ever known the deepest, most absolute freeze. It is the great paradox of exploration. The key to our survival is hidden in the coldest, most unreachable corners of the moon, waiting for a human presence to finally break the frost. The siege of the heavens. Imagine the sheer scale of the engineering required to keep 4 humans alive in this void. Every system is redundant, every component tested to its breaking point. Yet even with all our brilliance, we are still at the mercy of the elements. Radiation, the invisible fire of the sun, showers the ship in particles that can pierce lead and bone. The crew lives within a magnetic bubble of our own making, a tiny sanctuary of safety in a radioactive sea. During the flyby, they will feel the solar wind, an invisible pressure that shapes the very environment they inhabit. This isn't a voyage, it's a siege. We are laying siege to the heavens. And like any siege, there is a cost. The physical toll on the body is one thing, the weakening of bone, the shifting of fluids, but the mental toll is another. To look at the Earth and know that you are one of only 4 people who are not currently on its surface is a weight that few can carry. It is the ultimate form of separation. It is the moment when you truly understand what it means to be an emissary of your species. As the mission progresses, the crew will conduct experiments that will pave the way for the first permanent base on another world. They will map the distribution of ice, study the effects of deep space radiation on human DNA, and test the navigation systems that will eventually take us to Mars. But beyond the science, there is the poetry of the human endeavor. We are a species of explorers, driven by a primal urge to see what is over the next hill, even if that hill is 400,000 kilometers away. We are the ghosts that haunt the moon, a collective consciousness, pushing back against the dark with nothing but our ingenuity and our iron will to endure. The mirror of humanity. Why does the moon scare us? Perhaps it's because it's a mirror. When we look at the moon, we don't see life. We see what happens when a world dies. We see the scars of every impact preserved forever. There is no weather to hide the trauma of the past. For the 4 astronauts aboard Artemis II, the mission is a test of human architecture. Not just the architecture of the Orion capsule or the SLS rocket, but the architecture of the human spirit. They are the pioneers of a new era. But they are also the test subjects for a grand experiment in isolation. Nolan's films often deal with the idea that our greatest enemies are the ones we bring with us. Our regrets, our fears, our memories. In the silence of the lunar flyby, those memories will be loud. Every astronaut who has been to the moon speaks of a change in perspective. You don't just see the Earth, you feel it. You feel its fragility. You feel the thinness of the atmosphere. You realize that everything we have is a miracle. And you realize that the moon is a warning. It's a ghost of what happens when a world loses its shield. We aren't going back to the moon to stay. Not yet. We are going back to remember how to leave. Artemis is the bridge to the stars. Built on the bones of the Apollo era, but facing a future that is much larger than the moon. As the crew looks out the window at the lunar surface, they aren't looking at a destination. They are looking at the start of a journey that will outlive them all. The moon is the first step toward Mars, toward the asteroids, toward the stars. But to take that step, we have to face the ghost. We have to face the silence and recognize that the universe is waiting for us to stop being afraid. The masters of destiny. The clock is ticking. It has been ticking for 50 years. But tonight, for the first time in a generation, the sound of that clock isn't a reminder of what we've lost. It's a heartbeat. It's the sound of a machine coming back to life. The universe is waiting. It doesn't care if we come, but it is there. And as the Orion capsule rounds the far side and the Earth comes back into view, a tiny glowing spark in the infinite dark, the crew will realize the ultimate truth of the mission. We didn't go to the moon to find answers about the moon. We went to find answers about ourselves, to see if we still have the courage to be the conscious spark in a silent universe. The ghost in the machine is no longer a specter of the past. It is the spirit of the future. It is the drive that pushes us into the dark, armed with nothing but our curiosity and our courage. The moon is waiting, but it is no longer alone. We are coming back. And this time, we are bringing the light of humanity with us. As the capsule splashes down in the Pacific and the crew is recovered, let us celebrate the return of our emissaries. They have faced the unknown and returned to tell the tale. They have brought the moon closer to us, and in doing so, they have brought us closer to each other. The ghost has been faced, the machine has been mastered, and the future is wide open. The footprints of the past are now the blueprints for the future. We are no longer afraid of the dark, for we have learned to navigate its depths. We are the architects of our own legacy, and the moon is our first monument. Humanity is moving forward, one heartbeat at a time. The universe is waiting, and we are finally ready. Artemis, we are going. The world is full of hidden stories, and here at Paint Facts, we reveal the most impressive ones. So subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next fact might just surprise you.